Hey guys, welcome to another video. And today in this video, I have a very special guest with me. So we have the MSBA program at the School of Management, and here is the Program Director, Dominic Selitto.
Hi, glad to be here.
So first question for you, let's just get it out of the way. Who is Dominic Selitto? People want to know.
Oh, they want to. Yeah, interesting. It's an interesting question. I am me. I'm the program director of the business analytics program and a clinical assistant professor. I teach a lot of courses like predictive analytics, data warehousing, some cybersecurity stuff. But really, I'm an alumni of UB. I went here for my undergraduate degree in business and my graduate degree in actually our MIS program. And then I was a cybersecurity consultant for most of my industry career, just switching over to the school in the past 2 years. I mean, from a professional perspective, that's a bit about me, I guess.
Okay, so, and then people want to know, how are you involved with the MSBA program? Like, how are you getting impact on the program?
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool. And this was, it's funny you should ask, because this is a question that I had when I was going for the job role for the program director is, what does this actually mean? What does a program director do? And I'm pleased to say that a lot, right? So anybody out there who's applying, when you applied, I adjudicate all of the decisions, right? So while we have folks that are involved in the admissions process, an excellent admissions team here at the School of Management, I am probably one of the final arbiters who reviews all of the applications and gets to kind of learn who you are before you get here, and that's really great for me because there's an awesome benefit in kind of looking at somebody on paper and reading all about their life and your personal statements and everything, and then suddenly you're here and it's orientation and we get to meet and I'm like, oh, I remember you from the transcript. And then on top of that, you know, from the program director perspective, it's a lot of course building, industry outreach, working with folks who are in the trenches day after day in kind of business analytics focused fields, asking them, you know, the questions like, what's new? Like, what's 5 years from now new, right? And how can we build our curriculum to keep pace with that? And so it's this really, really fun, dynamic role that kind of helps me to learn who you are, right? And who all of you are, and have a really direct hand in changing the curriculum and building kind of the next generation of business analytics professionals.
That sounds perfect. So I would just add on to that. But then when you were building this course, when you were working on this course, what was your vision like? Like, what were you thinking about? Like, what do the students want to achieve? And like, what was your vision?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I actually wasn't the original creator of the course. Okay. It was created a couple of years before I arrived at the university, at least conceptually, right? And so there were a number of people on this industry focus group and faculty focus groups, and when a program gets created here at the university, it goes through just so many different iterations and layers and of applicability and viability and market the relationship it has with the marketplace, building those connections with employers and things. And so when I got brought into it, it was an established base of a program. But you know, that doesn't mean we don't iterate, right? Everything in technology, everything in business is all about updating, iterating, you know, treating it like it's a product and building a roadmap and executing that roadmap and shifting when we need to. So in the past year, right, and even in your cohort, you're seeing some of the changes that we made. Additional content for predictive analytics courses, like more of a Python focus in some of them. We've got prescriptive analytics, that's a new course that we offer this year, where we've got cybersecurity analytics and more domain expertise.
I'm registered for it.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that because my background is in cyber, and so we're looking at the industry and seeing a lot of demand from companies in kind of this cybersecurity fraud detection and analytics around it. There's some more courses that are in the pipe. Oh, people analytics, which is more of HR focused and resource planning. And
we got the mail recently about it.
Yeah, and so, you know, these are some of the ways in which the iterations have happened since I've gotten here, and we're planning more and more and more every year. You know, we've already got new course proposals in for the cohorts that probably may be watching this right now, who may see new courses that show up later, right? And we're always about expanding that kind of breadth of courses, but focusing too on the applied side, right? Because the big thing for me is, obviously, school is all about, learning the concepts and building the methodologies and the core frameworks. But my main goal here, and as the program director, is always to get you guys as much exposure to the industry, to the companies, to the people, to the tools, to these enterprise situations to really, really get you prepped for day one in your dream job.
Funny you mentioned about the courses that are going to come in the next term for the upcoming students who are going to come to the fall semester. Is there a semester?
So it is summer, right?
Summer,
so the program is shifting.
Yes.
And so in our first 2 years, we were running a 1 year, 2 semester fall and spring program, and you're taking 5 courses and 5 courses, right? In the upcoming cohorts and for all future cohorts, we're shifting that up a little bit. And so there's going to be a summer session that's a little bit of a shorter summer session to start with 2 courses. And then what's going to happen in the fall and spring is students will take 12 credit hours in each the fall and the
4.
spring. So 4 courses. And the reason why this change was made was actually part of this iteration with regard to student feedback. One of the things you may have noticed, you may not have noticed, 5 courses is a lot, right? It's a heavy workload. And
I'm good.
He's good, he's fine. He's sleeping well, he's eating sometimes, it's
Dark
great,
circles
right?
are right here.
But the thing of it is the one thing that I want to see more of is these opportunities outside of the classroom. There are clubs, experiences at the university, employer events. We're building workshops in like natural language processing and things like that. And sure, you can flex to go to those things. You can, decide whether or not you want to go home and eat or go to a workshop. But honestly, shifting and reducing your course burdens in the main semesters, fall and spring, gives us so much more opportunity to build these things in a way that you can engage with more deeply.
So this reminds me of my orientation, where I actually had the opportunity to talk to him and then discuss if I should take 6 courses or not. Because I had added 6 courses to my cart, and I was like, if I can add it, maybe I can do it. And then I went to him and I talked to him, and he's like, you can do it, I'm sure you can do it, but then there's something called mental peace. You need to take care of yourself while you're doing it, and maybe 6 courses is doable, but then it's just going to take a toll. Maybe remove 1 course, take some time out for yourself, and maybe explore Buffalo.
Yeah, and that's the main thing too, right? Like my big thing, my students, hopefully, whether you're just in orientation with me or you're in classes with me, hopefully, I hope that the students know this. One of my biggest core areas of focus is on student wellness and mental health. I try to do everything that I possibly can to push and convince and make sure that students are taking that time for themselves. Not because they can't handle it. All the students are excellent, right? You can handle it. But the problem that happens is school is a time for us to build good habits, right? And mental hygiene is a good habit to build. If what we're doing is grinding, not sleeping, not taking care of ourselves, not taking that time to relax and explore the region, those habits compound and they become harder and harder to correct later on in life. And so I want us to get off to a good start here and give you that time. I'll also, a lot of folks are coming, it's their first time in Buffalo, their first time in the United States, unfamiliar territory. I want to give you guys the time to explore, to get used to it, to really adjust to it. And I feel like the new kind of lead in, a slower ramp up in the summer with a couple of courses, 4 courses in the fall, 4 courses in the spring, gives you that breathing room and in the beginning, but then also at the end when you're in that job search, right? That all-consuming, all-encompassing job search, right?
What you're talking about is like the students need to take out like some part of their day to just look for jobs, apply for jobs, and work on your resume and keep going for it.
Right.
So if you're doing 5 or 6 courses, I don't think that's possible, because you're going to be working up with yourself with assignments, projects, group tasks, and then the studying part.
Yeah, it's hard, right? Because the desire from the students is there, right? They're, I want to get my resume reviewed. I go, great, let's review your resume and let's find a time. And they get back to me and they're like, well, the time we can meet is 9:30 p.m. on Thursday. And I'm like, I can meet at that time and I will meet you at that time. I worry about you, right, at that point. And I want to create an ecosystem, and the School of Management wants to create an ecosystem where the students have that time to get all the experiences, to really, really focus on their classes, to really, really focus on exploring, right, and everything in between.
I think I can attest to it because the 6th course that I dropped was data warehousing.
Yeah, you dropped my course.
Yeah, I talked to you about it, like, because I couldn't drop all the...
I gotta go.
So yeah, I did drop that course, and I told them that if I do drop the course, it's gonna be yours because every other course is mandatory. 3 were course and 2 were flex core, like, and one was the domain one, like one was flex and one was domain core.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's gotta be.
It had to be. Yeah, you had to. You didn't really have a choice.
When people ask me what is my one of the worst regrets coming to Buffalo is dropping data warehousing, because every time there's a class, people come out. My friends come out and tell me, Dominic did this in the classroom today. He was talking about this and this, and I'm like, what? So yeah, and this is, I think, personally, one of my biggest regrets is dropping data warehousing. I hope you guys don't do the same thing and take that course. And so yeah, let's talk about what you teach at the School of Management.
Yeah. Well, data warehousing. Data warehousing is fun, right? So that's I've taught a lot of courses over the years, but data warehousing is an interesting one, right? It's all about, building an analytics ecosystem. We call the data warehouse the central repository of data. And so what we do in that class is it's a confluence of business, kind of engagement. How do we collect requirements and build our plan for our analytical environment? How do we convince the business to buy into it? And then it shifts and transitions in the second half where we're working on data engineering use cases, building and architecting a cloud-based data warehouse ecosystem, implementing it, and then loading up and hooking in data visualization platforms like Tableau and Power BI to get info back out of it. I also teach healthcare analytics. Healthcare analytics is, actually I co-teach it with our executive in residence in healthcare who runs a local local healthcare organization that is an umbrella over about, I want to say 23 to 25 physician practices in Western New York. And what we do there is we work on real data-based problems for that organization. We get massive amounts of de-identified healthcare data, and the students are tasked with data mining, finding patterns, telling the business actionable conclusions out of that data that the business then goes and implements, right? And so we spend the whole semester on experiential use cases.
Yeah, that sounds interesting because when you get to work on data like that, you just get the real experience. Like that's as close as you can get. You have data source like that. I'm just getting this question out of the way because I've heard that you focus a lot on the certifications and stuff like that. I think there are like 5 requirements for your course. I've talked to a lot of students that are taking data warehousing. What is all about that? Like, how do you do that? Like, how do you deal with that? How do you make it into your course?
Yeah, so this was a little bit of a teaching experiment. And so in my course, in data warehouse in particular, but in a lot of my courses, I have this idea, right? That is there are core skills that we have to learn, right? There are hands-on skills and labs and things that are more prescribed. But then there's this element that students come into the class with, which is this idea that I want to learn this. They come into data warehouse and say, I want to learn Amazon Redshift. I want to learn Google BigQuery. I want to learn Snowflake. I want to learn whatever it is, right? And one of the detriments of the education system is I only have 15 weeks, and so while I can work some of that into the class, I can't necessarily work everything into the class. And so I thought, well, how can we do that, right? How can we get you this exposure or allow you to explore these things within the confines of the class? And that's really where this idea of like I started calling them critical responses, but because I couldn't think of a better name for them.
That's what it's called. I forgot about it.
Yeah. And what they started off was more written responses that said, hey, look, you want to go explore Redshift. Go explore Redshift and write me something about it. And then I thought this year, well, why? Well, there's all these awesome digital badges, right? That are hands-on labs with Snowflake, with Tableau, with BigQuery, wherever. Why not just encourage the students to go and get hands-on with these tools and then show me what they've learned through the digital badge, through some write-up, through whatever it is. And so I piloted that this year. incidentally, at the time of recording, the jury's still out on course evaluations, so
Okay.
whether or not it went well, I don't know. I'm not close enough to the ground. The students seem to have engaged with it very well,
Yes.
but I'm still waiting to see kind of that formal feedback. At the end of the semester, I really spend a lot of time on the feedback from students and try to make sure that we adjust.
So yeah, so I asked this question because this seemed like a very unique idea to give credit for something that you're doing outside the class, but as well as building your profile as well, like the badges, the certifications. Not only that they get you knowledge, but then they give you an aspect of the industry that maybe the recruiter wants to know about.
Sure.
Maybe show me this certification. Maybe just proves how good you are. And a lot of professors don't go to that level, but then this is a unique idea that I've heard of.
And I think a lot of students come into the program, in any program, right?
Yes.
And they go and say, I'll ask them the question. I'll ask you the question too.
Correct.
I think I asked at orientation. I'll ask anybody out there who
Okay.
joins us.
Yes.
It's like the what do you want to be when you grow up question, but it's what do you want out of this degree?
Yes.
And a lot of the answers I noticed over the years that I get is, I want to be the redshift expert. And I go, no, you don't. And that's not to mean you don't want to be an expert in Redshift. That's not
Yes.
what I mean.
Yes.
What I mean is what you want to be is a business analytics expert. What you want to be is a data warehousing expert. What you need to be is proficient in Redshift, but also proficient in Snowflake, but
Correct.
also proficient in BigQuery. You want to be that leader, and that leader is somebody who knows enough to be able to implement everything
Yes.
irrespective of the platform, right?
Right.
So platform agnostic. So we know the platforms and we get used to them, but we also are adept enough to be able to transfer back and forth.
Exactly. So if you know Amazon Redshift, it's a transferable skill. If you go to another company, maybe they use something else
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the data warehousing.
yeah.
So yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. So also a lot of people back in their home countries, like all the international students want to know, how's the weather up here, Dominic? We all want to know.
Well, did we just get told that the school is closed tomorrow?
Just now, yeah.
For a blizzard
Just
warning.
before we started, yeah.
Well, so yeah, we're under a blizzard warning, I think, right now. But don't let that deter you. It's not really super uncommon for us to have snowstorms up here. Obviously, Buffalo has a reputation for being cold.
Yes. It does. Like it comes in like top 5 cities in America, and I had to come here.
Yeah. It's one of those things where the standard kind of engagement from a student who's
Yes.
new to the region, right? You get here and it is ridiculously warm.
Yes.
It's very warm, very sunny.
Yes.
There's not a lot of rain that happens, and then that's how we trick you, right?
Yeah.
And then about 3 weeks later, it gets very, very cold, very, very rainy, and that's about mid-September, right?
That sounds familiar because when I came to Buffalo, I purchased a fan from Walmart because it was really hot. But then you know how many days I used it? 2. After that, it was really cold.
Yeah, and then the leaves change, and there's and then it gets cold, and then
Yes.
and then it starts snowing in November, December,
Yes.
January, and then it gets really cold in February, March, and then we're back up in spring to the warmer temperatures.
So this is not the worst yet?
At least cold-wise, no, not even close. So by the way, just for anybody who's watching, I want to say we've been hovering around 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 Celsius, right?
Okay.
Yeah, no, not even close. So we'll be down in the single digits Fahrenheit before long.
I'm gonna talk in degrees. The worst has been like -5 degrees, and then currently it's 5 degrees right now. It's raining outside, and like when it rains, it's kind of gets better.
Yeah.
Like, there's not much wind hitting your face. I think the wind is the worst, right? Like
No,
my
the wind,
experience,
yeah.
Like it can get colder as much as it wants to, but unless there's wind, you're good.
Yeah.
But when wind is there, it hits your face, you feel like much colder.
Yeah.
Naturally.
This sounds scary, right?
Yeah.
It does. It really does. I'm originally from Buffalo, so I guess I kind of grew up in this. But I get it.
Yes.
It is one of those things that is. It's not as hard to get used to, I think, as a lot of people think.
Yes.
And the sad part is by the time you get used to it, you're graduating.
Oh yeah, exactly. So what he's saying is like exactly what I had in mind, because I was really scared before coming here, but then since coming here, I think it's manageable because once you come to a colder place, you also have the additional gear like a jacket, like that one that I have over there, then a jacket on top of that, then the gloves and everything.
Yeah.
And once you put on all of that, you're good.
Yeah.
You can survive it. It's not that bad.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said about the experience, especially if you're from a place that doesn't get doesn't get snow, that doesn't get the cold climate,
Correct.
right? back during the big snowstorm we had last month, I got a whole bunch of pictures from students who were building their first snowmen, right? Outside on their lawns out front and putting the sticks for the arms and the carrot on the nose and everything. And there's something about that kind of first snow that's really got this really just beautiful quality to it that I just every year when students come in and we love to see it. And there's a fun thing is that we all know, right? And so we come in and the professors are joking about the snow and the students are joking about the snow, and we all kind of recognize, sometimes it's inclement, right? The weather is not as great as we'd like it to be, and hey, sometimes you get a snow day, so you get a class off.
Perfect.